Well, hello there, folks. My name is Mark Miles, and as you know, I love helping trainers, presenters, workshop facilitators really take their results to the next level. And in today's video, I want to speak to anyone that's kind of running their own workshops and wants to accelerate their progress by not making the same mistakes that I made. So in today's video, I want to talk to you about the top 6 mistakes that I made. Well, it's kind of 5 mistakes and a bit of a bonus there, right? So it's the top 5 mistakes that I've made in my career as a trainer and presenter. Whether that was speaking from stage, whether it was running intimate workshops, medium-sized workshops, or very large workshops. At the end of the day, I really want to help you guys wherever you're at in your, I guess, career or your development as a trainer, whether you're first starting out or you've been around for a while. I want to tell you, I guess, the top 6 things that will really make a huge difference because I want to share them with you so that you don't make the same mistakes. And hopefully, you are not already making these mistakes. But if you are, you can make a rapid fire change and make sure that you're not doing what I'm about to say, right? Because the thing is, though, with mistakes, we are often doing things, but we're not aware of the fact that we're actually causing the problem ourselves, right? So if you're out there and you're someone that's aware and you're like, all right, I've done something, I've got X result, I probably should change it, right? But many times in a workshop or delivering a training, we do something and then we blame the result on somebody else. But if we actually take a step back and we have a finer sense of understanding or a bigger sense of understanding about what's actually going on, then we stop making that same mistake there, folks, right? So if you are interested in finding out some mistakes that you don't want to make, go ahead, grab a pen, get ready to write. All right. So, first one that I want to talk to you about is under the umbrella of not affirming your audience's existing knowledge, right? And in order to speak to this one, I'm going to tell you a little bit of story, right? So when I was in my career, I was probably about 6 years in, and I was running a higher level course, bit of an advanced level course. I won't tell you the topic, but I had a lot of people in the room that had a lot of knowledge and probably a lot more knowledge than I did. I was quite younger at the time, right? And the thing was, I was walking in, and unfortunately, though, unbeknownst to me, I wasn't really aware of my own communication, how I was actually speaking to these people. Now, what happened was, and maybe you've heard this story before, but what happened was these people felt so disrespected and so, I guess, underappreciated and just so under-acknowledged for what they already knew. Like they were far ahead in their careers than I was. Like I was walking in full of myself, right? I was walking in and I was kind of speaking to these people like, you should know this stuff, right? And I know it, you don't. There's something wrong with you, right? And what happened was on the last day, on the Friday, these people, it was probably about 25 of them, they actually refused to come back into the room. And they were staying downstairs at the hotel restaurant. And I went and spoke to them. I'm like, are you guys coming in? And they're like, no, we don't, we're not enjoying the session. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, seriously, Mark, what have you done? Right. And I realized in that moment the importance of actually affirming what people already know. And from that moment onwards, I started to really shift to not to speak at the people, but kind of train in a way as if I was reminding them about stuff that they already knew. Now, highly likely they actually didn't know it, but I shifted my policy and my way of communicating to more so. Let's imagine that you guys already know it. All right. Let's imagine that's what I said to myself in my brain. Right? And I also, in a sticky note, on a sticky note, I wrote down the phrase, as we all know. And I continually, from that moment onwards, liked to integrate that phrase of, as we all know, and as we regularly do, and as we all would be aware of, right? I started to put these phrases in, particularly anytime I was delivering to a highly experienced audience, right? And highly recommend that you do the same. Right? Look to use those phrases, as we all know, as we are already doing, as we're pretty much aware of, right? And as we all have in the back of our minds, right? Those are some great phrases. Highly recommend that you use there. Right? So that was mistake number one, not affirming the existing knowledge in the room there. Number two, top 10 or or top 6 or top 5 mistakes that Mark has ever made, right? Number 2 is a strange one. Number 2 is actually overvaluing the feedback from a course. There's a little bit of a strange one, and it's going to be touchy, and it's maybe even trigger some people here with this one, right? Because here's the thing, folks, right? I have taught in this game for about, coming up to 12 years now. And I don't know about you, but when I first started, I really chased after the feedback. I used to sit there and go, what did he think? What did she think? And I used to obsess over the feedback form. And then one of my mentors, kind of reminded me that the feedback, it's not necessarily all about us. It's not necessarily all about us as a presenter. It's often about that person's experience and that person's, I guess, perception of what happened for them. All right. And it was a great reminder because at the end of the day, you get 20 forms, 19 people love you, but then one person hates you, right? And as we all know, humans are humans. Our brain goes, oh, well, what about the one person that hated me, right? What about that person, right? And if you are someone that is in a training capacity, highly likely you do actually care what other people think about you, as much as we want to get to a place where, no, we don't, we are bulletproof, right? I would highly postulate that you do care and you do take on feedback in some way, shape, or form, right? But where I went wrong is I put too much emphasis on the feedback forms and I didn't really monitor my own progress, right? And it took a while, but eventually I had the realization I've got to track my own progress here, right? So I started what we call a trainer journal. And after every workshop, I used to write down the answers to these 2 questions. Number 1, what am I really happy about with what I just delivered today? Right? Second question is, if I ever did today's session again, what's one thing I would do different? And as a result of that, I started to develop more confidence, more self-belief, and more of a self-reference points as opposed to just obsessing over the feedback forms. Yes, we love them, we value them, but you cannot put your own progress solely based on those feedback forms, right? It just doesn't work out long term, right? And you'll be constantly worried what they say, what they not say, and how am I going there, right? So number 3 here, folks, is telling, not asking. Telling, not asking. Instead, what we want to do is ask, then tell. Ask, then tell. Ask, then tell. Ask, then tell. So here's the thing, folks. Very early on in my career, I used to put a lot of pressure on myself to have all the answers, right? I don't know if you can relate. But for me, when I started teaching things like emotional intelligence or diploma of leadership management or public speaking or any topic at all, I used to put so much pressure on myself to have all the answers, right? But then I eventually shifted to ask, then tell, ask, then tell, ask, then tell, ask, then tell. And by shifting to the ask, all right, team, what do we think? And then sharing my knowledge. What do we think? Then share my knowledge. What do we think? Then share my knowledge. It became much more an interactive experience, right? And even if I wasn't actually gathering information, I could still go, all right, cool. The other day, I was asking myself the question, I was thinking about this, and I would throw the question back at myself, but there was still a capacity or a space to ask, get people to wonder, and then tell, all right? It wasn't dump, then ask. It was ask, then tell. All right? So number 3, on the top 10, top 6, top 5 mistakes of Mark Miles is telling, not asking. Instead, what we want to do is ask, then tell. Ask, then tell, right? I would love to sing that from the mountaintops. Ask, then tell, right? And the faster you get that, the faster you take a lot of pressure off yourself there. Next one, not focusing on retention. Not focusing on retention. Now, if you've heard with me in any way, shape, or form, if you purchased my book or are about to purchase my book or have heard me speak from stage in any way, shape, or form, you would know my magical catchphrase is big to be remembered. Speak to be remembered, right? And for me, very early on, I did fall into the trap of my session plan's amazing. Gotta love my session plan. My PowerPoint's fantastic. Love my PowerPoint, right? But eventually, I think it was about 2 or 3 years in, I did hit the point where I would show up and I would say to the group, all right, so what do we remember from last time? What do we remember from last workshop? And people would look at me with blank stares and they would not remember anything at all that we talk about. And broken heart, oh my gosh. I don't know if you can relate, but for me, I'm like, I told you all this good stuff. You haven't remembered anything at all. Right? And I'm like, so eventually, I woke up and thought, okay, cool. I need to start to get a little bit more conscious around how much people are actually retaining of what I'm saying, right? So I started to get a little bit more proactive. I started to actually repeat myself, God forbid. I started to actually say things in different ways. I started to actually get things to be even more memorable and start to get curious. How do I actually speak to be remembered, not just speak to be heard and forgotten about, right? So that was one of my major mistakes of just showing up and throwing up. Eventually, I'm like, I'm going to look to make my content as sticky as possible and do whatever it takes to make that happen, right? I highly recommend you do the same. Maybe. I don't know. Next one is taking behavior to personally. I don't know if you can relate. For me, I guess when I first started out, I would kind of look at people and maybe one person's participating, heaps of people are looking at it, but one person, maybe they're struggling a little bit. Or maybe one person is being a little bit difficult. Or maybe one person on the Zoom session is completely zoned out. Here's the thing, folks. We need to appreciate there's many different personalities that are going to be out there. You got the pragmatist, activist, reflective theorist. You got the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic, and you got the optimist, the pessimist, and you got so many different types of people, right? Now, here's where I went wrong. I used to, very early on in my career, I used to get angry and upset with people that would be late, or people that wouldn't take notes, or I would see shy people not interacting, and all of this, I'd be like, oh, it's all my fault. Or, oh yeah, they're doing it because they don't like me. Or they're doing it because they don't like the course. Well, maybe I shouldn't be so full of myself to think it's all about me when maybe those people, they just got some stuff going on, right? Or even better, maybe like my mentor once told me, everybody learns differently. Everybody learns differently. What a crazy idea to accept, right? And one of my mentors once said to me, look, if you're running a Zoom session and you got some people that are zoning out, well, maybe they've got some stuff going on at home that you're not even aware of. And if they're chilled out or if they're doing something that is a little bit not so great, just allow them to be in that space, all right? Now, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, everyone's going to love you. But if there's someone that's doing something, as my mentor said, just don't take it personally. It's not about you. It's not always about you. Maybe they got some stuff going on, right? Next one, number six. Number six. Oh, we're up to number six here. Let's recap though. Number one was not affirming the knowledge is already in the room. Number two was over focusing on those feedback forms. Number three is telling, not asking, right? So you want to ask, then tell. Ask, then tell. Ask, not going to get on that dance again. Next one is not focusing on retention and thinking that people remember everything you say. They don't, right? So focusing too much on my content and not focusing on retention. Next one is taking behavior personally. And last of all, probably one of the most important that so many people don't know, don't know. And yeah, I'm guilty of it as well. Now that is doing, not doing a visual check on my own slides, right? So I would show a slide and then people would say, oh, I can't see it. Or, oh, yeah, the color's off. The color doesn't work for me. Or the red writing on the slide, I can't read that. Or the writing's too small. Can you make it bigger? Or, no, where I'm sitting right now, I can't see your slide. Or, Mark, could you stop walking past the slide? It's too distracting. I can't see what's on the slide. Right? Sorry. Hi, hi, hi. Chris Rock would say, don't do the mistake that I used to make which was not do a visual check on my slides, right? So once I started to get those comments, I'm like, time to change, time to change, right? So I would make my slides, then I would set up in my room and I would make sure that I sat in as many seats as possible to actually check, can the slides be seen and is the color working or not? Is the font size big enough or not? And if it's not, or any of those things need to be fixed, well, I'll fix them, right? Because otherwise, it irritates the people quite a bit there, right? If they can't see what's on the slide, not happy, not happy, right? So let's recap. Number 6 is make sure you do a visual check on your slides, right? Next is don't take behavior personally. Bad idea. It's not about you all the time. Next one is not focusing on retention, focusing too much on what I was saying. And next one, telling, not asking. Ask, then tell. Okay. Next one is overvaluing feedback forms and the content of it, what people say about you. Yeah, it's important, but don't take it as the only indicator of your success, right? I've had a lot of people not necessarily like me, but go off and use what I've taught them and got amazing results, right? And it does happen, folks. It does happen. And last of all, not affirming the knowledge that's already in the room, right? Folks, hope you got some value from this video talking about the mistakes that I've made, and I'm sure that you're not making them. But if you ever do see someone else make a mistake, send them this video, right? On that note, folks, thank you so much for watching. As always, like, comment, share. Let's get a message out there so that the training world in Australia and globally is getting better and better as we all experience it as either learners or trainers and presenters. Thanks for watching, team, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.